Good evening everybody. Welcome to the Programming Ed channel. This is Bhargavi. Today we are going to discuss about the inter-process communication in the operating system. That is IPC. We call it as. Normally what is mean by a process? Process is nothing but a application or a task that is to be performed for the user or client. Now, one process may interact with the other processes in some situations. So, there we need processes need to be communicate. Processes need to be communicate with each other. Processes need to be communicate. So, when the processes need to communicate, there we have a concept of inter-process communication. Actually, the processes are of two types. Independent processes and dependent processes. So the first one is in independent process is nothing but consider there are two processes P1 and P2. So P1 execution does not affect the P2 execution and P2 execution does not affect the P1 execution. That means both the processes work independently. One execution of one process will not affect the execution of the other process. Whereas dependent processes P1 and P2 if you are considering, P1 is depending upon P2's execution and P2 is also depending upon P1 execution. So these two processes depends on each other. Such processes we call it as a dependent processes. So these dependent processes we can also call it as cooperative processes. So we call it as what? Cooperative processes. So this dependency, if the P1 and P2 are interact with each other, communicate with each other, cooperation should be done. So if the two processes are coordinate with each other, then only will not get any problem in the communication. So here we see, so why the IPC is needed. Clear? So the first one is, so why IPC needed? So why to use the IPC? Why we need the inter-process communication? First, so both the variables can perform the efficient task. So both should perform efficiently. Both processes should be cooperative. So cooperation, if you have, the task will be done very efficiently in a less time. So efficiency is there, cooperation is there between the two processes. So in order to cost also less. So cost also less if you perform the cooperative processes. Consider there is a process P1, there is a process P2. Now P1 is performing addition of two numbers. So that is adding of A plus B. Now P2 also want to do the same thing, addition of two numbers. So instead of writing the program for P2, we use the same whichever we are developing the P1, that can be used in the P2 also instead of writing one more program. That means if the two processes are in cooperative, so no need of writing the same program again. So the time is saved and the cost will be less. So each and every process will be in a IPC, inter-process communication be existed between each and every process which are depends on each other only. Clear? Now we see the mechanisms for the implementation of IPC. We have mechanisms for implementation. Mechanisms of IPC. The first one is shared memory. The first one is shared memory. Shared memory is the one of the technique of the IPC. So in the shared memory, by seeing the name only we can understand that the memory will be shared between the processes. So here we have consideration of two processes. consider the two processes. Now the process P1 is running and the common location is there. Shared memory is here. And next we have a process P2 and some other process we have. Here we have kernel. Now here process P1 is having some data and that stores the data in the shared memory that can be used by the process P2. Now that means what? P1 is storing a value in a shared memory. Consider P1 is storing a value X in the shared memory and performing the actions over the X and the result also stored in the shared memory. Now P2 want to use that shared memory. So P2 can use the task which is done by the P1 on the X variable with the help of the shared memory. That means P1 performs the action over a variable X. That means whatever the additions or multiplication or any action that will perform and that result will be stored in the shared memory. That will be taken by what? Process P2 in order to perform the other task over the X variable. So that means both the processes are using the common memory that we call it as a shared memory. So when the P1 is storing the results of actions of X on this, so we put this as a record. So P1 is storing the result of X in a record that is in the shared memory. So this record will be used by process P2. So this is called as a shared memory technique. That means one process saves the variable in shared memory, then the other process can use that. Now here one more thing, if one process is sharing, so here one process is sharing that value of X in the shared memory, at that time it put a lock and places in the shared memory. So whenever it performing the action on X, it put a lock for X and performs the actions, and when it is going to be stored the result in the shared memory, it unlocks the X. It unlocks the X because of the no confusion for the value of X for between P1 and P2. Now X is unlocked. Now process P2 will take this unlock X value and it want to perform some actions. At that time again P2 locks the X and performs the action. Again stores the same result in the shared memory and unlocking the X. That means this lock unlock will be done by P1 first, then this will be done by P2. That means a common memory is used between multiple processes. First it has to lock that variable and use it. As soon as the work of the process is completed, unlocks and shares the result in the shared memory in order to get the synchronization between two processes. In the next video, we will discuss about the synchronization in detail. Now we will discuss about the next mechanism, that is message passing. Now in this message passing technique, first we will understand how the way of representing of messages. Now there are consider two processes P1 and P2. These two processes want to interact with each other. So if P1 want to interact the P2, it will send a message, I am going to interact with you and I want information, I am passing some information to you. In the same manner, P2 also want to communicate with P1 and it also sends some message with the source ID and destination ID and message something like that. That means these two processes can be communicated in the form of the message passing. P1 sends a message to the P2. Similarly, P2 also sends a message to P1. Now, in this message passing technique, first P1 is sending a message. P1 is sending a message to the P1 is sending a message. Then this message will be forwarded. So this is it is having source ID and destination ID, and the message will be sent, and this message will be accepted by the, this we call it as a sender. So sender sends the SID, that means source ID, destination ID. Now the message will be forwarded. Now this will be forwarded to this, and this will be received by the receiver. So this will be received by the receiver, that is called process P2. Here also we have source ID and destination ID. Why? Because if you have source and destination addresses, then only we can transfer the message from one process to another process. Now here, in order to pass the messages between sender and the receiver, we use some of the primitives. The first one is send primitive and the second one is receive primitive. So primitive is nothing but condition to send and receive. These are the two primitives which are used to send the message, and the next one is the to receive the message. Now here whatever the message we are passing, so that consists of two things. Header, so header and body. So header and body, the two things are there. Now this header again consists of source ID, destination ID, so destination ID and the control. So this header contains source ID, destination ID and control. Control is nothing but controlling of the message. Now what action to be performed, how the in which way the message are traveling from source to destination, everything will be controlled by this control word. Clear? Now this message passing technique can be implemented in two ways. So for the first one is through link and through message pass. So through link and through message pass. So the message passing technique can be allowed by using sending a link or through a message. Now if you are sending through a link, so if you are using a link, again that will be again divided into two parts. So direct link, so direct communication also we can call direct link communication, and indirect link communication. Now message pass can be divided, message pass also can be divided into two things, synchronous and asynchronous. That means synchronous message passing technique, asynchronous message passing technique. So this is regarding message passing technique and IPC. Clear? So thank you. Thank you for watching my videos. If you like my video, please subscribe and share to your friends. Thank you.